Welcome back, Burnout teachers. Today's lesson will be about how being a nanny can help you to build your online teaching business. I just want to start off this video by saying that I've been a nanny many different times in my life, and I found it to be a very valuable experience. And I see nannying as teaching because whenever I was a nanny, I didn't see it just as like taking care of the kids, even though that is extremely important. I also saw it as really an opportunity to teach them life skills, to teach them about being polite, being considerate, learning how to clean up after themselves, and just being decent human beings. Number one is the pay. Especially if you've gone to school or university and studied education or teaching or have experience working in the profession, you can really promote that when you're in your interviews with parents to show them that you're not just going to be watching their kids, but you're really going to be creating an educational space for them to learn and to grow as people and individuals. So it's really important to be able to promote that. I've worked at nanny jobs where I got paid upwards from $30 an hour and in some cases $40 an hour. And some people may think that that's like a little steep for taking your kids to activities and tutoring them and helping them. But just like any other profession, the teaching profession needs to be valued because if anything, we are very valuable in the society because we're helping to educate kids and future leaders of our society. So make sure that you don't feel embarrassed to really put your rate high because the experience and the values that you hold as an individual and those life lessons from your own lived experience that you can pass to the kids you're watching. And if you're of another culture, the type of culture that you can expose them to is very valuable, and you should be monetarily compensated just like any other profession. That make sure when you're going to be a nanny to take part-time hours and to ask your family to guarantee you a certain number of hours every week and for you to get paid the same amount every week. And what I do is I always ask of that to guarantee that I will stay with that family, because you could have opportunities to work with another family, and so the family almost like keeps you on hold for any opportunity where they may need you. And so in order for them to have that privilege, they should have to pay you consistently for consistent hours regardless of what you worked. And so I had that relationship when I was working in Ohio as a nanny, and even if some days they didn't need me, they would still pay me the same amount every week. I think it was for like about 20 hours a week, and they would still pay me consistently regardless. And sometimes I wouldn't work one of the days. Some days they would need me to stay an extra day, so it would always kind of like even out. But make sure you do part-time hours and not full-time hours. I always suggest like the after school hours because they usually only need you for like 3 or 4 hours and then the parents come home. But I just find that having a full-time nanny position is just, I mean, if you're somebody who is able to do that, more power to you. I think that's amazing. But for me, just somebody who wanted to have my feet in so many different things and is like interested in so many different things and wanting to kind of nurture all those interests, I really just preferred to have my rate higher so I could still make the same amount as if I were working full-time, and just work like 3 or 4 hours a day. And then obviously I had other jobs as well, but just really making the priority building a business. In some cases, if you're nannying for older kids who are maybe older and a little bit more self-sufficient, you can use the time when they're doing homework or when they're at activities or when they're having downtime where they can have free time and do what they want to really work on your computer and build different materials for your business, start connecting and do any additional work that you need to do to kind of build up the materials to promote your business. And I found this to be extremely useful. When I was working many nanny jobs, I nannied 2 twin boys when I was living in Ohio, and I remember a lot of the time when they were watching TV or if they were doing their homework or were at activities, I was always on my computer and doing work, so that even if I wasn't like directly making money at that moment from it, I was still putting in the time to be able to make money in the future. Is if you're trying to build a business where you're actually going to be teaching students, you can use the nannying job as a way to trial out different ideas on the students. So, for example, I was nannying also part time sometimes when I was a teacher in a school in a formal setting. And I loved that because, like, some of the lesson plans that I wanted to do or had ideas about, I would just do them with the kids that I was nannying and use it as a trial to see if it was even effective. And that would help me to really kind of tweak lessons or change material. And also, you can apply that to how you're building your teaching business. If you're creating curriculum, if you're creating lesson plans, if you're creating templates for teachers to use, you can really use your student, you're the kids that you're watching, because they are students, and you can see how that they react to the material or the lesson plan, and then make adjustments there. I would definitely say to market yourself in more affluent neighborhoods. And I'm not at all saying that if you want to work in an area, in an underserved area, I think that's also amazing. And I think that there's a space to do that as well. But for me, I just felt that with the kind of rate that I wanted, to put for myself as a nanny, that it just made more sense that I was promoting myself in areas where people could afford that. I think that every community has a need. So, for instance, like underserved communities and a lot of communities of colors, they lack resources because of a systemically racist society in their neighborhoods, where they don't have access to clean water, to fresh foods, or even to like even having a grocery store. There's the whole issues of food deserts, but also like just their neighborhood schools not being properly equipped with resources, with even computers, with even just basic cleanliness. What these white affluent kids can tend to benefit from more is being with somebody of a different culture and being exposed to that, and that being a grounds for them to kind of confront their privilege and to also be more open and tolerant individuals, so that they can understand about other communities and other parts of the world. Because generally those white affluent, like wealthy neighborhoods, they're really kind of secluded, usually in the suburbs, where the majority of people who live there are probably also white and rich. And so I've worked in a lot of places where like I was the first person from the Arab world that they had met, or the first person of color that they had met. And so it was a really important interaction for them to be able to be exposed not only to my culture through me, but also towards my belief systems and my ideas and my values. And so it's a really great grounds of really having a huge impact on the kids, so that they can become more open and tolerant individuals. I know, especially where I'm from in Washington, D.C., the majority of the nannies are women of color. And I just want to talk about this because as an Arab American, I think that there are a lot of nannies who come from other countries, and yet the families don't necessarily acknowledge that culture. I've worked as a nanny in many different homes, and where I'm from has always came up, sometimes with the parents, sometimes with the kids who I was watching. And I just found it to be a really important opportunity to be able to educate them on things that maybe they didn't know about. And so one of my families I was watching boys, and they would two twin boys, and they would always make like really problematic comments about my part of the world where I'm from, and say like, oh, are you gonna blow up the building, or like just say things, or that I'm a terrorist. And I know that it was like all in good fun. I think that they were just joking about it, but really to be able to teach them that even like something like a small joke is not really something to joke about, especially when talking about these larger structural issues that exist in our society, and really being able to teach kids about that from a young age. And for them, because they already have like a personal connection with me, they're almost being connected to my culture through me. And so I'm like the gateway of them being able to have more understanding and tolerance in their life to people who come from my part of the world.